So our speaker this morning is Reverend Jeromy Keidō Thotland, and he's been practicing at MZMC since 2014 and was ordained by Keido Thotland in 2019. His focus is an experiential practice, living Zen off the cushion and living a service-oriented life. He finds Zen practice fulfilling and difficult and totally worth it. He's happy to share his experience with others. He grew up and currently lives in Minneapolis with his partner, Andrea, his dog, Juniper, and his cat, Turk. So with no further ado, Jeromy, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Kyoku, for the introduction, and thank you for the invitation to speak here today. Can everybody hear me okay? All right. I understand at Hokyoji, we just finished a 7-day Rohatsu retreat. And our Rohatsu at MZMC was the week before. And Rohatsu is a time when we celebrate the Buddha's enlightenment. This is a very important time for Soto Zen Buddhists. It's probably a very important time for every Buddhist. And in my opinion, it's a very important time for all beings. Rohatsu itself is a Japanese word. It literally means 12-8. So on the 12th month of the 8th day, here we are, enlightened with the Buddha. And we celebrate this in different ways, partly by being quiet, partly by being together, partly part of our celebration is a chanting of the record of the transmission of light, which was written by Keizan Zenji. It's a chant that we do during a service, and it is relatively short as far as sutras or chants go. It might be a little long to do the whole thing here, so I've taken some excerpts from it and to highlight what I want to talk about today. So in the record of transmission of light, Keizan says, Shakyamuni Buddha saw the morning star and realized enlightenment. He said, I, together with all beings and the great earth, attain the way. And then he goes on to encapsulate the Buddha's life. And he adds some remarks about the statement. Keizan says, I is not Shakyamuni Buddha. Even Shakyamuni Buddha comes from this I, and it does not only give birth to Shakyamuni Buddha, all beings in the great earth also come from here. Just as when you lift up a net, all the holes are raised in the same way when Shakyamuni Buddha was enlightened, so too were all beings on earth enlightened. And it was not only all beings on earth that were enlightened, all the Buddhas of the past, present, and future also attained enlightenment. While this is so, do not think of Shakyamuni Buddha as having become enlightened. Do not see Shakyamuni Buddha outside of beings on earth. If you want an intimate understanding of enlightenment, you should get rid of you and Buddha and quickly understand this matter of I. I is the great earth and all beings as and is not I as the old fellow Shakyamuni Buddha. Examine carefully, deliberate carefully, and clarify this I and. Even if you clarify the meaning of I but fail to clarify and, you lose the discerning I. This being so, I and are neither identical nor different. Truthfully, your skin, flesh, bones, and marrow are completely and. The host inside the house is I. It has nothing to do with skin, flesh, bones, and marrow, nor has it anything to do with the four elements or the five aggregates. Ultimately, if you want to know the undying person in the hut, how could it be apart from the skin bag here and now? Therefore, studying from all angles, penetrating in all ways, clarify Buddha's enlightenment and your own enlightenment. Let your answer flow from your heart without borrowing the words of another. So, I and. This seems, when it's put that way, it seems very confusing to me. Especially when I first encountered this. This was very, seemed very intellectual and very, gives me something to do, gives my mind something to do. I can think about this and cognate on it and turn it over. I and. I is all beings. It's all beings. It's me, it's you, it's everyone, it's everything. But I think it's more than that. When I feel what I might be, I take it as this life that isn't necessarily mine, this life that is expressed through me. And when I'm quiet and when I sit and when I am focused on whatever it is that I'm doing, and I allow this life to just completely flow all the way down to the bottom of where it might come from, I feel that it's the same thing as that's in the center of everything. Keizan said, the host inside the house is I. I seems to be something that is everywhere at all times, and it is representative, in my view, of the absolute. Switching to and, it seems like and is the body of karma that we have that expresses what the I is. Karma being all the things that have happened in the past that have brought us to this moment. So, thank you, Buddha, for being enlightened and giving me a path to follow. Thank you, Steve Jobs, for making Apple computers so that I can have this thing in front of me and see you all and talk to you. Thank you to all my parents and ancestors. Thank you to your parents and ancestors for being here. Thank you to my partner and my cat and my dog that was mentioned. All these things are the karma that have brought me personally here to sit on this cushion and encounter this teaching. This is and. All this is and. It's me, it's you, it's the sky, it's the birds and flowers and trees. And is, to me, the relative. If I is the absolute, and is the relative. So I, together with all beings in the great earth, attain the way. So I is not separate from all beings. And yet the everyday, the you and me sitting here are separate. The everyday is the separate beings, that it's given life by the great I. Keizan encourages us to clarify this for ourselves. I think this is very important, and it's important work, because this clarifying, as I said earlier, might seem intellectual, but I don't think the fruit of what comes from our life is intellectual all the time. I think a great portion of the fruit that comes from our life comes from our experience. And so we have to put aside sometimes this cognating and this thinking mind and really sink in and clarify with our life, with the whole that we have, with all that karma that we're bringing forward with us. How does that interact and intersect with clarifying the great I and? I can't tell you what that means. I can't tell you what I and mean for you. I think that knowing yourself, Keizan says, flows the answer from your heart. In the Genjo Koan, to study the way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by the 10,000 things. To know yourself, to be completely in unison with I and. What is that like? What does that feel like? And why are we being encouraged so strongly? Because we have to deliberate carefully. We have to clarify this very carefully. This is important. I feel an importance in there, and yet I still can't quite put my finger on it. So I have some of my own clarifying to do. In John Tarrant's Bring Me the Rhinoceros, there's a story of Yan Tao and Shu Feng that I think might have something to do with this. Yan Tao and Shu Feng were snowed in on Tortoise Mountain. Day after day, Yan Tao slept while Shu Feng sat up and meditated. On the third day, Yan Tao sat up and said, "Get some sleep. What do you think you are, some kind of shrine?" Shu Feng touched his chest and said, "My heart isn't at peace. I can't fool myself." Yan Tao gave a great yell. "Don't you know that the family treasure doesn't come in through the gate? Let the teaching flow out from your own heart to cover the sky and the earth." Shu Feng was suddenly enlightened and cried out, "Today, Tortoise Mountain has finally awakened." Don't you know that the family treasure doesn't come in through the gate? I think this points to both the great I and to what we call Buddha nature. This trait that everything has to awaken. It doesn't come in through the front gate. How does something that we already are, how does something that we already have come from anywhere else? Our awakened selves, our Buddha nature, it's not just this, it's not just us, but it's the great earth and all things, the 10,000 things. And the grassroot Hermitage Shirtao says the vast inconceivable source can't be faced or turned away from. Why is that? Because it's here. It's now, it's you, it's everything. And we don't need to go anywhere to get it. The family treasure is here. The family business is the Dharma, and we have it. We are the Buddha. We are enlightened with the Buddha. We are the great earth. And if that's the case, we have some things to do. Miaozhang was a Chan nun in the from 1095 to 1170 was her life. She wrote a poem. I really like this one. Suddenly, I have made contact with the tip of the nose, and my cleverness melts like ice and shatters like tiles. What need for Bodhidharma to have come from the West? What a waste for the second patriarch to have paid his respects. To ask any further about what is this and what is that would signal defeat by a regimen of straw bandits. So what need for Bodhidharma to have come from the West? We have this internal, inherent enlightenment, this internal awakening, this internal Buddha nature. Why does somebody need to come from somewhere else to show me what it is? Well, part of that is I'm confused. I get confused pretty easily. I get distracted very easily. And before I found this practice, in my young life, I had meditated some and found some benefit to it. And so I tried to set up a life that was very kind of Buddhist-like. I didn't know anything about Buddha at the time. And when I encountered Zen Buddhism, I encountered a system that was what I was trying to already do with my life. But my attempts were very, very poor. They were very janky. And so when I encountered this, I thought, this is what I want to do. So it's helpful to have Bodhidharma come from the West, and it's helpful to have somebody to say, these are the teachings. So we hold these and we pass them on. But with our practice, once we have the teachings and once we know this, our job then is to clarify it. And Miaozhang is expressing her understanding of this clarification, that she is Buddha already. Teachers and words and efforts are all unnecessary. They're all a waste since it's right here and it's been here the whole time. We forgot. Reminders are very good. So we are Buddha. We are enlightened with the Buddha. The Buddha is enlightened with us. All past, present, and future Buddhas have become enlightened. So now what? Now what is it that we are supposed to be doing? Shurtao says, if you want to know the undying person in the hut, don't separate from the skin bag here and now. Our Zazen puts us in touch with this skin bag that we have, this meat sack. Paraphrasing Dogen, if we don't sit, we're going to miss the mark. Zazen is the Dharma gate of repose and bliss. It is the practice realization of totally culminated enlightenment. In the Fukan Zazengi, he says we can have supernatural powers and we can clarify the mind and escalate the very sky. And this is only just a little bit of what we can do. We need to continue to sit Zazen. And during this Zazen, we can deliberate carefully and clarify I and. We can have a sense in our bodies of feeling this connection, this quiet connection with all beings. Sometimes it's just this quiet connection that's ourselves. And when I'm sitting Zazen, sometimes I'm distracted by all the little things that are going on inside my body. I have physical pain. I have other sensations. And then the mind starts going and I have worries. In the practice of accepting all these as and, these are the and portions of my life that need to be integrated with all of me so that this can be integrated with all of you in all of life. In Zazen, I spend time letting these things come and in and out, flow in and out. My acceptance of them flows in and out. And this is really, really important work. This is clarifying I and. In Buddhism, we like to make a lot of lists of things. And it turns out that I have a list of lists of things that we can do as Buddha. You can even do them if you don't think you're Buddha. These are all good things. We have 4 immeasurables, the Brahma Viharas: boundless friendliness, sympathetic joy, compassion, equanimity. These are good things to practice. Boundless friendliness, metta, maitri. Metta practice is it's a very good practice. You can practice it for yourself. You could practice it for your loved ones. You could practice it for the whole world. You can even practice it for people you don't care for too much. Especially those people you don't care for too much. When I started, it was me. I don't care for me too much. And it really helped. We've got the paramitas, 6 paramitas, practices that bring us closer to all things: generosity, ethics, forbearance, energy, concentration, and wisdom. These are very similar to the 7 factors of awakening. The 7 factors of awakening are both the cause of awakening and the result of awakening. Mindfulness, investigation of dharmas, energy, rapture, calm, samadhi, and equanimity. That sounds pretty good to me. I could use some energy and some rapture. Mindfulness, calm, okay. Investigation of dharmas, equanimity, results, I think. Buddha himself gave us the Noble Eightfold Path: beneficial view, intention, action, speech, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, concentration. Each of these can be applied to our life. We can examine these carefully, how they intersect with our karma, how they intersect with our life, and we can make decisions so that we're more in line with beneficial action, with beneficial livelihood, with beneficial speech. And of course, we have the precepts, the 3 pure precepts. If we want to keep things very simple: do all that is beneficial, refrain from all that is harmful, and act with others always in mind. When we do these things, when we incorporate these things into our life, when we actualize ourselves in this moment, realizing our Buddha-ness, realizing our connectedness with things, these are clarifying I and. These are making practice real. These are making practice true. And these are harmonizing with the Buddha Dharma. So now we get to ask ourselves, what are we going to do? How are we going to experience this? How are we going to step forth out of this into today, into our lives? I'll leave that question with you. And that's what I have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeromy. Comments and questions from the screen? Welcome.
Criticisms, anecdotes,
think we're clarifying I and.
Well done.
I
Did
don't,
I hear you say criticism?
Criticisms, yes, Dokai, bring it.
Okay. No, that's I'm kind of joking just to get things started here. So
Yeah.
thank you, Jeromy, for your talk. Maybe say a few more words personally about some of the 7 factors of enlightenment. I'd like to hear talk about that just a little, or you could pick out 1 or 2 of them or something like that. How's that sound?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I did spend some time with these during a practice period. It was really, really quite nice. Was it a practice period? No, it was a Rahatsu. We did this through Rahatsu. It was interesting because I don't really think of like energy and rapture, that kind of stuff. I don't associate those with a lot of my practice. It's usually, the calm and the mindfulness. And so I had a little bit of a hard time with those 2 in particular. But having done it in a session when the container is there, it's being brought up and talked about, and I have a lot of different ways in which I can kind of look at it and investigate in it. So there were times when I'm feeling really tired. And then there were times that I wasn't feeling really tired, and I could sense, oh, this might be what they're talking about with energy. This might be something that that is a factor of awakening. And rapture too. There is joy that comes for me with energy. When I have energy, I feel like I could just pick up the mountain and I could move it wherever I want it. And this mountain could be the mountain that I am just sitting. But when I have energy and joy, there's just this kind of rush to be in a direction. Yeah, I'm not really explaining it too well, but that's my experience with that.
I'd like to join you on that topic because it's one of my good friends. I had a time when I was studying and was introduced to the 7 factors of enlightenment as the picker-uppers and the calmer-downers. So the picker-uppers are the first 4. And let's see if I can remember. So there's mindfulness, there's investigation, there's energy, and there's joy. That's one way of talking about them. And then the calmer downers, I don't know as much about the calmer downers. Let me think. So the calmer downers are concentration, really right effort, and I can't remember the 7th one.
Equanimity.
Huh?
Equanimity.
Equanimity. Oh, equanimity. So what I appreciated about some of what I learned about them was that mindfulness, when you're in more of the relative thinking and experience of things, that mindfulness is the kind of the initial turning of the ignition for practice. So it's something that you can always start with, and the rest follows more easily. I think investigation is something that I've embraced and really tried to remember, because it's a place to go when something does come, to, with mindfulness first, kind of go, whoa, okay, what's happening, or I'm here, or something. And then investigation is a great tool to liking or disliking. Let's just take a look at this, right? So in the 3 pure precepts, Bernie Glassman is very articulate, and he just calls that investigation don't know mind, which is also helpful to me, because a lot of times investigation looks more like, what did he do or she do that I don't like, or what did I do that I'm ashamed of or I don't like, or how great am I, or what, those kinds of things. And then the energy actually for me is associated with one of the another one of these lists, the 5 hindrances, one of which is torpor.
I think Kyoko, you might need to turn off your video. Your audio is going in and out a bit. I think your connection isn't as strong as it needs to be. So
okay,
if you turn off your video, maybe we can hear you better. You were cutting in and out. So.
Okay. So I'll turn off the recording.
No, not the recording, the video. Just your
Gotcha. Cross me out. That's actually probably a good place to stop.
Okay.
Well, I was just going to say one more comment. I really take these 7 factors of awakening very seriously. And I wasn't aware of them for many, many years until I started reading the Nikayas. And I started looking at them, and mindfulness, investigation of states, joy, energy, equanimity, and the other 2, especially joy and energy. And I don't think I'm having a lot of joy and energy in my practice anymore. And I remember after we would sit 7-day sessions at MZMC with Kadagiri Roshi, sometimes we would get together and have a little tea afterwards. Some folks wanted to go out for dinner. I never extended it that far, but having a little tea afterwards was kind of fun, particularly with Kadagiri Roshi there. And we felt great, afterwards. We were laughing. It was casual. It was everything was, easy. And yet there's so much effort I was making in the Zen practice that did not feel joyful or create energy for me. And I made the conclusion, because Buddha laid this down, these 7 factors of awakening, that each one of them needs to be increasing, and that would indicate to me a real balance in your life, where you're not, constricted in your thinking or contracted. You're open, free, easy, energetic. And that's when awakening occurs. It doesn't occur under any other conditions, based on my tiny bit of experience. And so I said, if these factors of awakening aren't actually happening, maybe I'm not doing something right in this practice. And so I started adjusting that a little bit. I think it's worked out for the better. We just completed a 7-day session at Hokyoji, of which several of you were present. or a couple. And I felt after that session, we felt that joy, energy, calmness, mindfulness. And that's when I think a practice is really working. So I'm just paying attention to that a lot these days. So I thought I would share that with you. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, okay.
Mhm.
I'm wondering how many times that these things might come up that we don't recognize as joy. We don't recognize as energy. Um, but it's nice to have them all in balance. Mary.
Thank you so much for your Dharma talk and Dokai and Kyoko for your comments. I was at Rohatsu at Hokyoji this past week. It's my first 7-day session. So I'm still actually kind of almost weepy from it. But what I want to point out, and you brought this up in your Dharma talk, sort of aside, I don't always get the 7 of this and the 3 of that and the 16 of that. And, it's just sometimes almost too much for me, which is, fine. I mean, I love to hear it and explore, as I move along in my practice. It's really good stuff. But what struck me in your talk were 2 things. 2 things we're experiencing right now, and that I experienced this past week, and that is, being quiet and just being together, even if it's an hour or 7 days or whatever. But what I found this week, with cleaning, because we have work practice, and with cleaning, those little beetles that we have, everybody has those. We have them all over our house, and, mostly in the fall because it's still warm. It was actually still, pretty warm at Hokyoji in December. And so those beetles were all over the place. And I was cleaning a lot of, shelves and dusting or whatever. So you just find them everywhere in every nook and cranny. So I was just feeling open-hearted about those guys. And I was trying to scoop them up in my palm and take them out the door and just, kind of toss them on the ground. I don't always feel that way about those things.
Right. Yeah.
But, for me, I guess that's just an example of open-heartedness that I sometimes experience. Not always. I just felt like, yeah, they have a life too. They have a life too.
Yeah.
That's my comment.
Right. Thank you, Mary. Thank you. Yes, everything has a life outside of ourselves. I had one practice period, one of the people for their presentations gave us a little card that said, everything is somebody. And so I put it on a light switch, I think in the bathroom, so that I could see it every day. Everything is somebody. And I know to this person, really everything is somebody, because she treats it that way. And they're very kind and involved with all the things in her house and anything that she comes into contact with. And that was a trait that I thought I could benefit from learning. and it really changes the alignment of my heart. So we can try these things on. If some of these factors or lists of lists are helpful to you, and we can try them on and see if it fits in our life, see what works. Notice any changes. Just like Mary did.
One thing, of course, here at Hokioji, we do have not just lady beetles, but we have other wonderful bugs that come and spend time with us. And one thing that's interesting is I can tell by my reaction to them whether I'm in pleasure or pain mode.
Yeah.
So it can act as a kind of a mindfulness clue or a practice clue that I'm leaving the Brahma Viharas or factors of being kind and good, and or the four divine abodes is the way we talk about those. And that's actually quite helpful. It's actually quite helpful because they're alive, or even they're just dead. You know, we have a lot of flies that get in and die. And so it's just a constant reminder that I'm here with all beings, and that a lot of days is really helpful. Thank you, Mary, for your sharing. Still have time.
Yeah, I would ask Mary. The real challenge is going to be if you can come and stay in the residence in the lower level in the summer and develop that same attitude toward millipedes. So I've told this story before, but I have yet to put one of those picture of those millipedes up on our altar. So and this has been going on for 4 years. So in any event, I still don't have the compassion to put one of those picture of one of those things up on our all beings altar, and I have that's probably of any kind of living thing in the universe. I've killed more of those things than anything else. Everything else put together. I mean, it goes into the thousands and thousands. Yeah, well, at least the first week I moved to Hokioji, I had a flying squirrel in my apartment and also a snake. So I had to Google, how do you get a flying squirrel out of your house? Because they just, you don't really want to cohabitate with them. And they're kind of tricky to try to catch and get out of your home. But in any event, I haven't had that happen since the first week. But anyway, my challenge is the millipedes. So that's where I'm at right now.
Lately, I've been feeling your challenge of the mice. We've had mice move into the house with the cold weather. Yeah.
Yeah. After I hit 1,000, I stopped counting how many mice have died under my jurisdiction at Hokioji. So when we had a Dharma talk, how to give a Dharma talk class, and we're not supposed to end on a pessimistic note, whatever. So I'll leave it to joy. Bring the joy out. We'll let go of this killing thing for a while.
I've been trying, but everything's dying. Oh, but everything's living too. Yeah. joyful and encouraging notes. Yeah, we have a lot to do. There's a lot of ways that we can encounter our lives and encounter practice. John?
Enjoy. It's the new snow.
Yeah, in Minneapolis, we got an inch or two of snow and it's still out there. And it looks very beautiful.
And wouldn't life be boring if it was always one way? That we, think of a state and say, okay, how long would you want it to last? So things do change continually, and we all are of the nature to die. I have to say that millipedes they're kind of close to my heart. They're so reactive to water levels. That's what makes them come and go.
Mm-hmm.
So they're persistent, and other than just crawling around, they're not nearly as irritating as flies and lady beetles. So that might be the best we can do on ending on a positive note.
That sounds good.
So I'm going to make a few announcements here. Hold on a second. I need to. So, first of all, thank you, Jeromy. I really admired both the pace and the clarity and the order of your talk, and it's like planting seeds at a more fertile time of the year. I'm sure that it will sprout up in me. So, and much gratitude for coming. Secondly, coming up, we have in December, we do have another talk, and then the last 2 Sundays in December, we will not have a Sunday talk. I'm not exactly sure what we're doing about morning zazen, but I think it will depend a lot on what staff is here at Hokyoji in the last 2 weeks of December, but we'll make sure that it's on the website. Secondly, we have a very exciting next for late January and February, which is our usual winter practice period. And this year, the first 2 weeks will be led by Dokai and Onryu G.D. Kennedy, and the emphasis and teaching will be around the Diamond Sutra. And then in week 3, Brad Warner and Dokai will be teaching and based on Katagiri's teachings. The 3-week period for those who are priests, it's good to know that that qualifies for SCBA Ongo requirements for priest practice. And we're very excited about 2 very exciting topics. So if you can make 1, 2, or 3 weeks of it, that would be, I think, something special and quite enjoyable. So I hope that maybe during those months that we might appreciate a little bit less than those in the spring and the summer and the fall, that you'll think about spending some time here at Hokyoji. So, as you know, we will continue to need all of your generosity, and we are so appreciative of it. I'm sitting here in my new digs and feeling especially appreciative of all the gifts we received from you and many others. So please, if you want to make a donation, there's information in the chat box about how to do that. And with that, I think I'll close. So we'll close with the 4 vows. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Good trip, Dokai. Have a good trip.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kyoku.
Hey, I'm going to study your talk. It was so clear and on point. Thanks.
Oh, great.
All right, here I go. I'm going to end
See you
us.
later. Have a good one. Merry Christmas.
You too.